Emmy Russell, welcome to Biscuits and Jam.
Thank you for having me. Kind of makes me hungry. Biscuits and jam.
Great to see you. Where
Thank
am I
you.
reaching you right now?
I am in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
Okay.
Goodlettsville. So Goodlettsville, yeah, if you know where that
Okay.
is.
Okay. And you've been there for most of your life, at least in the Nashville area, right?
I was born in Hurricane Mills, which was where like Meemaw and everyone kind of grew up. And then we moved to Kingston Springs, and now I'm in Nashville. So, yeah.
Okay. One of my favorite cities. Well,
Where are
listen,
you at?
I'm in Birmingham,
Oh, okay. Cool.
Birmingham,
Right now.
Alabama, just down the road. Yep. Yep. Come
Cool.
visit sometime.
Hey, I'd love to.
So, Emmy, I just got to tell you, I interviewed your grandmother on this podcast. And it was truly one of the highlights of my career, getting to talk to her. And I remember we talked about biscuits and cornbread and songwriting, and I will never forget her laugh, which was so real and so genuine.
Yeah.
And you know, you could just tell like she had done a million interviews, but she was just right there and was just so lovely.
Yeah, the laugh made me tear up. I'm kind of tearing up as you're talking about her laugh. It's so genuine, and she's so present with who she's with too.
Yeah,
So she doesn't even think about the 100 interviews she's ever done. She's just like with. So
yeah.
that's cool. Wow, thank you for telling me that. I actually had no idea. So it's even a cooler honor to be here now that I've known that she's been here too.
Well, if maybe you can
And
go
you've
listen
interviewed
to it
her.
at some point. And yeah, and it was just
Wow.
she had the album "Still Woman Enough" was coming out.
Yep.
And I remember she sang a little bit of "One's on the Way," which I'll also never forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so neat.
But so tell me about your grandmother and your relationship with her. I mean, you called her Meemaw, right?
Yeah, I call her Mima. I grew up going on the road with her. So my mom, she actually was in a duo country group called the Lynn's,
Yep.
and they were on the road with her touring. And my mom became her manager. So whenever I was born, they kind of quit doing their, out in Nashville thing and went on tour with her and opened up. And I was just on the road as a baby. As soon as I was out, I was actually born on my grandpa and my grandma's anniversary. I was a premature kid. And so I think that's kind of weird. I think God kind of was like, I'm going to send her on the day that they got married just to show her that they're alike. So, yeah,
Wow.
just grew up singing, 2 years old, singing on the road, and very close my entire life.
What a special connection, and to have that date. I mean, every time your birthday comes around, you know, you're thinking about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do think about her and him. I never met my grandpa, but I think it's really cool. I think about her a lot on birthday.
Well, I want to ask you about that house. So you grew up in one of the coolest houses in the South. I mean, or at least, you know, spending a lot of time there at Hurricane Mills. And it must have been like a fantasy land for a kid.
Yeah.
But of course, for you, it was just, you know, I mean, I guess for a long time, it was just, you know, that was just the what all houses looked like.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about that house, and did you have favorite rooms that you loved to go into?
Gosh, strangely, I loved like the kitchen, all the cool like wallpapers. They always had these really neat wallpapers and like this little butter churner that I used to always play with as like a kid. And I loved the columns outside. Like I would always play around the columns of the house. Mima actually had a house behind that house, so I spent primarily a lot of my childhood in the house behind the house that she was raised in.
Right.
So it was so cool and so fun. I used to go over there all the time and just play. Yeah, I love that house.
I'm guessing you probably spent a little bit of time in her dress closet.
Oh my gosh. Well, they're so strict on people. Meemaw, she doesn't care. She's like, oh, honey, go ahead. You can wear that anytime. But, everyone else was like, don't touch that. That's like prize winner. And I'm like, it's just a dress. But for her, she just saw it as a dress. But everyone saw it as, something special, which it is. But
Yeah.
I've tried on a few things.
I mean, I would think so. We talked about those dresses when we did the interview, and she said, I love putting them on, and she said people laugh about it, but I worked hard, and I earned these dresses, and I'm going to wear them whenever I want to.
Oh, Tim Cobb actually, the guy that lived with her, her assistant, took care of her and all that kind of stuff. He actually makes those dresses. He made her all those dresses. And so it
Really?
was so cool. And he actually passed away like a month after she passed away, which was so weird because it's just back to back. Like
Yeah.
one kind of wanted to be with the other. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Emmy, you mentioned the kitchen, and I'm wondering if your grandmother talked to me a lot about food, and I'm wondering if you remember her doing a lot of just sort of ordinary grandmother things like, baking cookies or making pancakes, that kind of thing.
It's funny. Meemaw never cooked for me or anyone. It was always Tim. Tim did it all. But now, did she have a cooking book? Yes. But did I ever get to taste any of her cooking? No. So unfair. But she did make food.
Well, I remember hearing somewhere, it might have actually been your mom or your aunt that said this, that her favorite thing in the world was banana pudding.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's mine too.
It is.
Yes. I love banana pudding. She loved banana pudding too. But I'd always make her a peanut butter milkshake. So peanut butter milkshakes, brownie brittle, and
Yeah.
banana pudding. Those are her 3 top favorite desserts.
So, did she have a particular kind that she liked? I mean, would you say she was kind of a banana pudding connoisseur? Was she specific about, what she liked?
What we always had around was the one with the wafer. What are they? Those little wafers?
Oh,
What are
yeah.
those called?
Those
Vanilla
little
wafers?
Nabisco, those vanilla wafers, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So many of those and just bananas and it was just the stuff.
Yeah.
The banana stuff in it. But no, the wafers, a lot of wafers.
Yeah. You can't have too many of those.
Oh no, you can't.
We also talked a lot about the holidays, and she loved the holidays. She talked about having these big get-togethers with the family. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what your memories of some of those get-togethers would be.
I remember just having so many cousins and then like all around the house, just everyone running. And then everyone would get their turn to say hi to Meemaw. And then we would like open up presents and we'd give her hugs and just, yeah, it was just like a big family celebration. So many cousins. Like I don't even know all my cousins' names. Like I do, and I know their faces, but so many.
You
So
can't
much
even keep
family
up.
shows
Yeah.
up. I can't keep up with it all. And there's always a new baby being born. And so it's just kind of like,
Yeah. Well, I got to imagine that there was a lot of music involved.
a lot of musicians actually in the family. Yes, so many musicians in the family.
And so for the holidays, was there a lot of singing, or was it a more, kind of serious affair?
It was more just everyone kind of like laughing and being around each other. There wasn't really much music, probably because everyone does music all the time. We're like, that's the last thing we want to do. We want to just hang out and talk. So it's all very close. We're all very close, except
Yeah.
for the 100 billion cousins.
Well, you got a long life ahead of you, and you'll meet them all someday.
Yes.
Well, Emmy, I want to come back to your grandmother in a minute, but I want to ask you about your mom, Patsy,
Yeah.
who was named after Patsy Cline,
She was.
which is so cool. She had and has had a successful music career of her own, and performed for a long time with your aunt. Also produced several of Loretta's records, right?
She produced, wrote.
So I'm wondering how instrumental she was in your musical journey and what your kind of connection is with your mom when it comes to music.
Me and my mom are super close. Like, she always took me out on the road, very close. Like, I'd always take, advice from my mom. Yeah, kind of, whenever I got about 16, I was kind of like, okay, Mom, give me some space.
Yeah.
Because she's got such a strong personality. So I kind of had to, like, grow away from my mom a little bit, like, just a little bit. We're still like this. Still like this. Yeah, she was my manager on the road whenever I started opening up for Meemaw when I was like 17, 16. So we're super tight. Me and my mom write songs together, very rarely, but we used to write all the time together. But,
And
yeah.
so when did that really start for you in terms of the songwriting? I mean, when did you have a song, something that you'd put down that felt like, okay, this is, this feels like something. This feels like something I've tapped into that I hadn't really tapped into before. When did that kind of start for you?
Well, I started writing short stories first, like in school, like I would just write like, the hero story of like the underdog and then she like rises up and yeah, but my first song I think I wrote, it was it was for the talent show and I was in the second grade and it was called Keep Trying Again and it was just about math and how I just failed, but then I was like keep trying again. But then whenever I was about 9, I wrote a song called The Mirror Can Lie and it was just, it doesn't show you what's inside kind of. That's what the hook was, like the mirror can lie. It doesn't show you what's inside. So I was really always like attracted to like identity, finding out who you are. And I don't know why. Now I look back at it and I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. But I was always like about those kinds of songs. Yeah.
I mean, Emmy, that's pretty powerful stuff for a 9-year-old.
Nima always told me, she's like, you're like a 40-year-old woman trapped in a 9-year-old body. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And I'd play guitar, and I learned guitar whenever I was 7 really well, but I got my first guitar when I was 4. And so I was just, and then going on the road. I don't know. Original music's just how I process. And so, yeah.
Was that a guitar that came from your grandmother? Because you have that
No.
song called Mima's Guitar.
That was later on in the story.
Okay.
But my first guitar, my dad got for me. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
A Baby Martin.
Right.
Baby Martin.
Which is a great guitar to start on. Yeah.
Too nice.
Yeah.
Whenever I have kids, I'm like, not going to put them on a Baby Martin.
Wow. So you're really young when you start putting things down on paper and start thinking about songwriting. And I saw this video of you. I think you were maybe like 11 years old, and you were performing a song called If I Die Young.
If I Die Young, yeah.
And
Yeah.
your grandmother is standing right beside you on the stage, and just lets you sing the whole thing. And she seems so proud. Was that a big moment for you, or was that something that was kind of happening, regularly at that point?
At that point, it was happening like almost every other week.
Okay.
And so I would sing one song everyone knew, which was If I Die Young, and then I'd sing an original song. Mima always told me to do that because everyone wants to sing along with you, but then if you want to share your heart, do that too, but not too much.
Yeah.
That's her advice. And then I sang If I Die Young, and everyone loved whenever I sang that song. But yeah, I was like 11 years old.
Wow. I mean, so fearless, and, up there in front of, I'm sure, a lot of people, with your mom your grandmother
Yes.
on stage, right?
So many.
Well, I'm curious about the guitar that you mentioned in the song, Mima's Guitar. So if it wasn't your first guitar, was there a specific reference there to a guitar that she gave you, or was it more of a general kind of idea?
It was a real guitar. Mima passed me down her guitar when I was 15 at the Ryman Auditorium, Grendel Opry. And she said, you're the one that can do it. So you're the music, like she always thought I had this spark about me ever since I was a little kid. And she felt that she needed to give me the guitar as like the torch in a way, or the mantle. And Lord knows that I probably can't hold that. That's too much. But she passed me down her guitar when I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the song that was the one that she wrote, like all these, Don't Come Home and Drinking, like just these like big songs.
On that guitar.
On that guitar, yeah. Holds a lot of history.
Sure does.
So that song's called Unwinding the Strings. And so, yeah, it's just all like the history, like unwinding it all and thinking about it. And yeah. So I was 15 when I wrote a song about her passing me down that guitar, and I sang it that night that she passed me it down.
Wow.
In a way of kind of like honoring the moment.
Wow. Is that a guitar that you pick up often?
Well, it's actually at the museum, but
Oh,
when
it
I want to
is?
go get when I want to go get it, I can.
When you really need some extra mojo.
When I need some extra mojo.
Well,
That means when I really need some extra pressure.
yeah, right. I know. I'm sure
I
there's.
like very rarely playing it because it's a pretty mojo guitar.
Yeah, there is some pressure, I'm sure. She's got so many great songs. There's too many to count, Emmy. But when you think about all these songs and these songs that you grew up with, Coal Miner's Daughter, Fist City, You Ain't Woman Enough. I mean, is there one that you were especially fond of, or that you had a strong connection to?
My dad actually wrote a song with her, and it was called Miss Being Mrs. And every time I heard that song, I would just cry. And it just, like, I miss being Mrs. Like, that's just such a cool idea. I think she actually told my dad that, and then he kind of helped her finish it. I love Coal Miner's Daughter. I feel like that has a very special meaning to it because it's her life. And then now, like, whenever I hear, Coal Miner's Daughter, I think when I walked in that house and I was doing a video because I was doing a tribute for her, Coal Miner's Daughter, and I sang it, and I said, nothing left but the floors, nothing lives here anymore except the memories of a coal miner's daughter. And I was like, it made me cry thinking about it, but I was walking through that hallway and I was like, man, nothing left but the floors, except the memories of Meemaw. Like, that's how I heard it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that song's really special to me now that I'm older.
I'm sure. Oh, well, Emmy, I want to ask you about a song of yours, and it's the song that you performed at American Idol, and it's called Skinny.
Yeah.
And, you said it was about someone who's struggling with an eating disorder. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking when you wrote that song.
Well, on the road, people would always take pictures of me like this, like really from down below, and you would all, and I started developing an eating disorder when I was like 16, 17 out on the road, and I just stopped eating and drinking a lot of coffee, and, you're going all the time, and I just really cared what people thought of me. I think the pressure really got to me, so much so that I quit the tour, and then I kind of did like a mission trip for like 4 years. I was gone. And I was really free from that eating disorder. And then it came back to me when I came back to the United States, and I was feeling that pressure again of not feeling enough. And I started going through the eating disorder. And then, like, a friend came up to me. His name's Dennis, and he said, "Hey, I got an idea called Skinny. I feel like you're supposed to write it." He had no idea. I told no one that I was going through an eating disorder. This was about a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago. And I said, "I'm in eating disorder recovery right now." And he was like, "I had no idea." And then about, several months after that, we wrote the song because I could actually sing it. Yeah. So that song comes from a real place. I was the girl that, I didn't say that, but I was the girl that had the eating disorder.
Wow. Well, it's an incredibly powerful song, and I think, you've seen that and felt that
Thanks.
through this whole experience. But it also, it seems like a gutsy one particularly to share with such a big audience and on such a big stage. What made you decide this is the one that I really, I want to share on this stage?
Whenever I arrived, I was going to sing a song called Breakup Song, and I did sing it. And they said, we want to know why, we want to know, more songs. Give us more songs. And I said, well, I do have a song called Skinny.
So you weren't planning on singing that one when you walked in there?
No. Oh, my gosh, no. No, I was not planning on it. Wow. But I just kind of felt in that hour, like, you need to sing the song, sing the song. So that one's really close to my heart. So I was like, I guess I need to do that one.
Well, Emmy, I'm wondering what kind of response you've gotten since it came out, from people who are going through something similar.
I get, people sending pictures of their daughters that were on feeding tubes. I remember just saying, thank you for saying this. It's not talked about. But 70 million people in the world have suffered with an eating disorder, and no one talks about it. But there was a reason why the original video was Songhouse. It went viral because, people have it underneath clothes. In the dark, people have have stuff, hard stuff. And that was mine, and it's 70 million other people's. Yeah, I got a lot of DMs, a lot of messages, a lot of calls.
I'm sure. And I don't think you're done talking about it or sharing this or being on this journey either.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Emmy, I want to ask you about another special performance that I saw that you did at the Grand Ole Opry when you performed a duet with Lucas Nelson.
Yeah.
And it was a song called Lay Me Down.
Yes.
And what was really cool about that to me was that Willie Nelson, Lucas's dad, and Loretta had performed the song together about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. What did that moment mean to you, to be standing on that stage in that circle, honoring your grandmother?
Gosh, I remember that moment. I was sitting in the pews and just crying the entire night. And I felt like, I don't know if anyone's ever felt the Holy Spirit before listening to this, but it felt like I was just crying for no reason. Like something was just bigger than me that was there. And I just really felt like it was just her presence that was just filled the space. And I remember just walking up there, and that was the first time that she wasn't standing next to me like you saw when I was 11, And so I remember I told the crowd, and I just wanted to bring them in that memory with me. And I said, this is the first time that Meemaw's not, in the corner watching me with her proud eyes. So, just thank you for being here. And then everyone was just and there felt like this, almost like this grief of her, but almost like a celebration of her life all together with me. And then having Lucas next to me, this humble human being, like he's so humble. He's like, I said, I think I need to say something. And he said, well, go on ahead. You lead the show. And I'm like, Lucas Nelson, this is my first performance since I left tour with Meemaw when I was 19. I was living in Brazil. I was gone for 4 years. And for him to do that was really gracious. And then it got nominated for Performance of the Year for CMT. It didn't win, but I mean,
which is
what
so
an
great.
honor.
Yeah.
People resonated. I don't know. Truth resonates. So I don't know. I was so bigger than me. It just all felt bigger than me.
Had you been on that stage before with your grandmother?
Oh man, I feel like maybe I have one time. Gosh, but everything's a blur though. It's been so long. I probably have been. I did the Ryman, but I don't know if I did the Grand Ole Opry.
Right.
Wait, no, the Ryman. We did it at the Ryman. Goodness gracious, Emmy. Yeah, I was at the Ryman. Yes, the Ryman. I played the Ryman, but I'm talking about the Grand Ole Opry.
Right.
The Ryman, yes, I played with her. That was whenever she passed me down her guitar. Oh, wow, I just now put that together. So she gave me her guitar in the same place where I sang for her. She gave me that guitar when I was 15, and I sang about her life, or just for her, honoring her passing in the same place. I just now thought about that.
Wow.
That's so neat.
Well, it's a really special performance. And I'm sure everybody was very much feeling it in the room that night. You said you left for a number of years, about 4 years. Was this mostly kind of a big long mission trip, or what was just tell me a little bit about that journey.
It was like a school. It's just a school for missionary school kind of thing, non-denominational Christian. But I went and I didn't believe in God. My whole family did believe in God, but I didn't believe in God. And I was like, well, I was on the tour, and I remember taking off my eyelashes at the tour. And I remember meeting Selena Gomez, and I was like, why am I not happy? I have everything I've ever wanted. I'm following in my grandmother's footsteps, and I couldn't fill that hole inside. And I just said, I don't know who the girl behind the eyes are. And so Meemaw had her stroke. And then I said, okay, this is a curse because, she's sick, but it's also a blessing because I can find out who am I outside of you. I was having a really bad eating disorder at the time. So I left and I went to Kona, Hawaii. And then from there I went to Brazil. And I had a deep encounter with God. And the preacher, he called me out in the crowd and he said, you. And I said, oh my gosh, she's preaching on hunger. And I said, God, I don't have anything but I do have hunger. Like I mean, I feel like I'm, out here, I paid $10,000, like show up. And in that moment, I just felt like a pin drop in my spirit. And he said, supernatural creativity. And he said, you're going to know who you are, your identity. And I felt like I never knew my identity outside my grandma. It was always, her granddaughter. And so for that time period, I was just Emmy that lived in Kona, and then I moved to Brazil. And then I always had this desire for creativity. And so I came back and got involved in the music. But yeah, I was gone for quite some time.
Wow. Well, it sounds like a very worthwhile journey. That is for sure.
Oh, I wish people would just take 6 months. If you're unhappy, then please just take 6 months of your life and dive deep.
Go somewhere.
Do something that you love. Like I told my mom, I said, Mom, I don't want to be a singer anymore. And I never thought that I would ever come back to it. Because I always thought I was jaded, like I'll never ever use Meemaw's guitar ever again, like how can I ever pick up that guitar and feel like I can measure up.
Well, Emmy, you've come back to it in a pretty big way.
Yeah, it's interesting. American Idol is I'm just shocked that it's it's just, wow, I would have never thought, hey, you're going to be on American Idol and you're going to sing a song about your eating disorder that you're suffering with right now. And yeah, they're going to say that you're also related to Loretta Lynn. I would have been like,
And it's happening.
It's happening.
Well, you talked about your grandmother's kind of spirituality and everyone in your family or a lot of people in your family having that connection. And, she came out with this book last spring. And it was just a few months after she died, and it was called A Song and a Prayer. And
God in my house.
Yeah. And I was looking at it, and there's a line in there that says, most people don't stop to smell the roses. They're too busy worrying about everything. People are the same in every generation. They just find new things to worry over. Does that sound like her?
Gosh, yeah, it does. She's really creative in her wording. That does sound like her.
Well, I love that. And it sounds like she wanted to kind of leave a little gift for people after she was gone.
And I love that it's that book. I love that it's that book after she passed, too.
Yeah.
She's such a gift.
Well, Emmy, I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of opportunities after American Idol is over. What are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to?
Gosh, I think I showed it to my audition with no makeup on, and I played my most vulnerable song. I think I can just be myself, and I'm really excited that I can just be myself, and being ordinary and not, changing everything about yourself to look like you're from, Hollywood is is okay, and it works, and people resonate. And so I think if anything, it's like being myself in the music industry, being myself and, talking to you, or I'm still a little nervous though, because I'm getting used to all this talking and stuff. But I don't know, just learning how to just show up.
Well, just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, Emmy, I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
What does it mean to you to be Southern?
It's funny. Well, first I thought of food. That's true. And then I'm talking to you, so I thought of biscuits. And I was like, well, those are really good. Biscuits are my favorite food. I don't know if you know that. Being Southern to me, honestly, just means that, if one person's falling, the other person's there, like right there. There's no... I have so many friends that would tell me how it is if ever I got too big in my head, like a big head. They'd be like, hey, remember where you came from now. And I'm like, oof. Like I feel like they're not scared to get dirty, and they tell you the truth. And being Southern to me just means, well, the food, and then just the people are just so there for you. There's that hospitality. It's real, the Southern hospitality. And just very truthful. Yeah. Meemaw was a little bit too truthful sometimes.
She was pretty truthful.
So truthful, and I think that's what gave me the ammunition to write a song like Skinny. I think I'm completely different than my grandma, But someone commented and said, "You're so much like her," because that was such a gutsy song to sing, just like so many songs in her time were so gutsy. And I was like, oh, wow. Maybe she gave me a little truth gene, but was it scary for her like it is for me? I think probably a little less for her. She's very brave. She's very brave.
Well, I think you're pretty brave yourself, and
Thank you.
You're doing beautiful things and writing some beautiful music, and keep at it. And
Thank you.
thanks so much for being on Biscuits and Jam.
Thank you for having me.